It's 5:41 in the evening in Newcastle, Australia. It's just ticked over 8:41 in Manchester, England. And this is the only place in the world where the scriptwriters decided to be a bunch of dicks to every single tipper out there. And where apparently a little bit of wet balls out on the field can land everyone in hot water. Yes, this is the Sideline Chat podcast, the one-stop shop for rugby league. Along with Mark Hendry, I'm Connor Marcellus, and we pick up from where we were 2 weeks ago in forced suspension. You're out. But anyway, here we are, round 11 of the Telstra Premiership, and oh boy, we are only a few days away from State of Origin selection.
Absolutely are. Who is Laurie Daly going to pick? Who is Billy Slater going to pick?
Well, that's a question we'll come to an end of when we reveal our teams at the end of the episode, so stick around for that. Meantime, we go right to Friday night football action. The Newcastle Knights at home to the Parramatta Eels, and oh boy, Parramatta, what happened in the final 60 seconds against the Dolphins? You can come up with a better story than I can, honestly, saying that. But there is good news for Parramatta fans, which is saying a lot because, let's be honest, there really hasn't been that much good news. You finally get Zach Lomax back 6 weeks after he rolled his ankle, kicking victory against the Dragons in Golden Point. The other bad news is that Matt Dury comes in for Charlie Geimer, so unfortunately a supposed fan favourite gets dropped out, whether it's form or injury, who knows. And Tony Matele could earn his debut off the bench for the Eels.
As for the Newcastle Knights, who blew a 20-point lead to the Titans, anyway, Dane Gagai is lining up back alongside debutant Fletcher Hunt with Greg Marju out with a knee injury. Leo Thompson is going to miss with a head knock, and Frizzell shifting to the front row as a result. It also means that Adam Elliott has been added to the starting side, and Tom Kent comes to the bench with Hetherington named as 18th man.
So Zach Lomax finally back at last, and no surprises, he's going to be lining up on the right wing, where we all thought he was going to end up eventually after getting named in the centre. And so now Newcastle have got dual strike threats either side of the field, especially now that he's not lining up against Greg Marju early on. So now the Eels already have a game plan in place.
Oh, absolutely. Target the debutant. First game, it's going to be a tough call against Lomax. I mean, Lomax, we know how he's like in the air and under the high ball, so that's... Fletcher Hunt's got a bit rough, but he might be able to do it, being at home, and he'll have his family and friends there for his debut, so they might get him across the line.
Big thing about it as well, Dan Gagai, 300th game in his career. It brings it up at the Knights, where he played the bulk of his career, barring a small cameo at Brisbane in his early years, and then a 4-year stint at South in between that. Remarkable effort, that another milestone now, and is welcomed into the 300 club.
Oh.
But where the hell have Newcastle gone in the last 2 weeks?
Downhill. More downhill than what they were before.
I do not know how they can come out onto McDonald Jones Stadium this Friday night after what happened the last Friday night against the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, what? A 20-point lead, and they lost by 4 points. What the hell happened? Like, who does that?
20-6 at halftime, and they were on fire in the first half. Their left edge was humming like anything. Fletcher shut up, whether he was going short to Dylan Lucas or he was creating opportunities to get Bradman Best and Greg Marju onto the ball before going down with injuries. But then Tino Fasua-Malawi decided he was going to become God on a footy field and just tick things over Gold Coast's way.
Wasn't he already God on a field or something like that? But also, Newcastle couldn't hold the ball as well.
Errors creeping in. It's always a killer, but the Titans, full credit to them. Tino, massive effort, almost clocked up 250 running meters in a 70-minute stint, I should say. So that is an incredible effort. It allowed AJ Brimson to play off the back of it, and they just tore the Knights to shreds in the second half. I'm sorry. Newcastle should have had that game a lot better wrapped up. They didn't, and they paid the price. Now you got an equally desperate Eels side coming up the F3, I think, as it is, and they're about to try and do the same thing. I don't know where this Newcastle Knight side goes. Sure, readjustments in the front row. The Knights haven't exactly presented a good threat in the middle of the field.
No, definitely haven't. And it's shown from pretty much round 1 onwards. Like, who blows a lead to the Titans?
Not many teams.
I mean, if it was a top team, yes, I'll understand it. But to the Titans, out of all bloody teams. But, yeah, Newcastle, no. I've got a bold prediction, though. You probably agree with me. You probably disagree with me.
Go on, then.
Adam O'Brien to be gone by end of season. Easy.
Easy. I reckon he's going to be gone before round 17. I reckon he's gone before State of Origin finishes.
Ooh.
I reckon he's finito already.
He's gone.
Look, key matchups. It will be a desperate battle. It will be Jack Cogger versus Mitchell Moses. They are the chief playmakers in that team at the moment. But I'm looking at Mitchell Moses. I mean, sure, he had a bit of an off night as captain in that loss to the Dolphins. But he gets dual attacking threats either side where he could either try and find space to put Adokar away in the corner because we know he's going to burn them, or both he and Dylan Brown, another major storyline out of this.
Yes, that is true.
They will utilise their kicking game, and like you said, they will bomb this Newcastle Knights debutant, of course, in the form of
Fletcher Hunt.
Yep, Fletcher Hunt. They will put him under all pressure all night, and that Zach Lomax can at least get one jump right. I reckon Parramatta win this in a close one. For me, it's Moses' kicking game plus the dual wing threat that sees the Eels home 1-6.
Well, we saw what Mitch Moses did on his return back. He sparked the attack that Parramatta was missing at the start of the season. But yeah, I agree with what you said. They've got 2 strike winners out wide in Lomax and Adokar. One's got speed, one's good in the air. I don't see this one being pretty for Newcastle. I'll see Parramatta win this one 7-12.
Being a bit more lenient with it, fair enough. Now, this is going to be a delicious Friday night matchup right here. The Canterbury Bulldogs at home to the Sydney Roosters. How much better could you ask out of this one?
Roosters have... Lindsay Collins has... He's been named on interchange. And because he hasn't played since round 5. And other than that, no changes after having a week off last week.
Unfortunately, in the Bulldogs' greatest moment of 2025, they unfortunately lost Jamin Sannon. Projection is he could miss up to 2.5 months, maybe 3, after he suffered that injury. So Harry Hayes will move into the starting back row for Cameron Ciraldo, which of course would then bring the 18th man from last week, Luke Smith, onto the bench to make his first game in the NRL official. So good on him. Harry Hayes getting a good starting opportunity there, which would see Kurt Mann move to lock and Lipoi Hopboy and Curtis Moran joining Bailey Hayward as the rest of the makeup on the bench.
I mean, the Dogs, with all the injury, haven't had that many.
It's been all the suspensions because we've clocked up in the last 3 weeks probably a year's worth of suspensions.
I was going to say, they haven't had that many injuries, but they have had injuries to key players, but they still managed to still play very competitively week in and week out without big names like Burton and Kickout to start off the year.
This is what I've been saying, and this is, you can say it's a rip-off from Spider-Man and Homecoming, but it's still the same philosophy. If you can't win without your best players, then you don't deserve to win when they're in the team. That is the philosophy Cameron Ciraldo, honest to God, he's been working with. Because all the talk preseason was, the Bulldogs are short of the middle forward. They're going to get dominated in the middle. Where's their points going to come from? Toby Sexton's not a halfback. He should be going after, say, Lachlan Galvin or a Mitchell Moses. Or someone like that. And time again, these guys turn up, they put in, and they show why exactly Canterbury Bankstown is amongst the premiership favourites at the moment.
Absolutely they are. And what, 1 loss all season?
Only one.
Only 1 loss all season, which is why they're sitting pretty at the top of the ladder.
Look, we're 11 rounds in. I'm not going to get too far ahead confident, but we're playing some good footy at the moment, especially after last weekend in Canberra. Oh my God. Glory to Stephen Crichton. That man really is a good investment, we admit. He is the reason we could come back to equal our greatest comeback since 2001.
What, been 20 points down?
Oh, yeah. More than 24 years that happened. The last time that happened, it was against the Northern Eagles of all teams.
Oh, wow.
When they was still a thing and Manly had to play second fiddle with North Sydney.
Exactly. But, yeah, I mean, the Dogs, they're just, I'm not going to say unstoppable. And I have to say, the signings that they have made over the last couple of years with getting Burton, Kickout, Crichton, and the likes has been freaking fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's paying off big time. Yes, it's taken them a couple of years to get there, but they're there now.
And look, you can hate on the Dogs to say, oh, they just bought half the Penrith Panthers good odd players and called it that. But it's like this other thing that came from one of their 80th anniversary promotional videos. It's not about the four walls of a club. It's about the people the four walls contain. We
exactly
bought
right.
people that could set a new standard, a new example, a fresh standard.
And not just players, like staff, like Serraldo as a coach, Gus Gould as GM.
It is
outside the
exactly
football.
that philosophy that has put us in the spot where we are right now. And I couldn't be more happier as a Bulldogs fan. Now let's talk more about the game. Ultimately, this is going to be blockbuster. I hope at least 30,000 get out to this game on a Friday night, mind you. But
Yeah, but it's a weekend, start of the weekend, so I reckon they'll be nudging 40,000.
look, 30,000 for a Friday night game when you're dealing with the Sydney traffic, that will be good enough for me. But you're looking at it on a couple of key fronts. Stephen Crichton dragged the Bulldogs back from oblivion against Canberra. The Roosters, they get Lindsay Collins back, so they get some good leadership off the bench, especially when Origin is concerned. But you got to give credit to the likes of Hugo Savala, who's taken to first grade, as we've said before, like water off a duck's back.
Absolutely. He's been an outstanding player since coming in and taking over from the more experienced Chad Townsend.
But for me, this is Tedesco at his best against Canterbury Bankstown. This will be James Tedesco's last real shot to try and justify him unseating Dylan Edwards at State of Origin. He probably won't, but he still might. So we got to play it that way. The Roosters will try and definitely use Angus Crichton and CUR long all night.
Absolutely.
They will just try and wear you down in the middle, and they'll try and use Robert Toyer. A little bit of early ball, and he will try and earn us, honestly.
And the Roosters are coming along nicely. Like, they started off very poorly, but they're chipping away, and they're getting there. Even with off-field drama like Dom Young.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, to be honest. It's like, first we're being told, oh, yep, Newcastle interested. He could be released and playing as early as this weekend. Obviously, that's not happened. Then Trent Robinson decided to put the Knights to the sword, literally, in his press conference yesterday. I don't know what Newcastle thought they were doing out of this deal. I mean, is it going to happen eventually? I think it probably will. But it's just another headache the club doesn't need at the moment.
Exactly. But if a team that can overcome off-field distractions, it's the Roosters. How many times have they had off-field distractions with players signing, not signing, and like off-field dramas and that, and they've come through it. So
on the flip side of it, the Bulldogs will be wanting to back their defense again after they had that hiccup against the Broncos. They put in 2 really good weeks where they put the Titans through the rinser, and then they overcame all the odds to maintain their place at the top of the ladder. Kick out on Hugo Savala. I imagine a lot of traffic's going to get thrown at the left edge of the Roosters in particular and really test out this big rookie halfback that the Chooks have at the moment. But there's just key matchups all over the park. You got
absolutely.
James Tedesco once again playing the best footy of his career at the moment. Again, and a utility, Connor Tracy, who's found a home at fullback, who works just as hard as anyone in the game.
Absolutely.
Then you got Nawaka Itawase on Montoya on one side, then you got the experience of Daniel Upo with the height game versus the tackle-busting, hard-running Jacob Carraz on the other side, who I think I would have him in the blue side tomorrow.
Let's just say the whole 1 to 13 is a matchup.
Oh, absolutely.
Pretty much. That's what it seems to be going to be. The whole 1 to 13 is a whole matchup with each other.
If Radley starts ball playing off for Tedesco and Savala, I might get a little bit worried, especially considering how well Robert Toy's has been tracking, and then of course Billy Smith, who's also proven to be very good in the air as well.
Even once he's finally get full strength and
But
full
I reckon
fitness, and after having
lock down
horrendous years.
But this is what I think is going to happen. Lock down the middle. You lock down Tedesco. That's what I think the game plan is going to be. Don't give Tedesco any room to sniff around on the ruck, and the Bulldogs can really keep the Roosters quiet. And I think we will do it. It just 1-6. Bulldogs win. Add another win to the tally.
Well, I'm going to have to say Dogs as well, even though it's a very 50-50 game. It can go either way. I mean, we saw last week what happened. So, yeah, I'm going to say Dogs win this one 1-6 with maybe a little bit of extra time, but I don't think it will quite go there.
We'll see how
But
it
it'll
goes.
be very close.
It's going to be a great, great matchup.
Oh, absolutely. It's
But how about this one? We have now got, for the first game of Super Saturday, we have got the Dolphins back at home to the New Zealand Warriors after a little bit of Herbie going bananas against the Eels.
Absolutely. And a big boost for the Warriors, though, if they're not already dangerous enough. James Fisher-Harris is returning at prop, while Roger Tuivasa-Sheck
He remains on the reserves.
In the reserves, but he could also be a late inclusion. Bunty Afoa is starting. Has been dropped out of the squad, and Jackson Ford has been ruled out after suffering concussion. So Sam Healy is now on the bench.
Well, Christian Wolf has the luxury of no changes, though he has opted to swap Tom Gilbert from lock to the edge again with Ray Stone playing in the middle. The Dolphins just find ways of popping up when you least expect it to. Like last weekend, you heard the record. They'd only won 3 times outside of Queensland on 19 attempts, but apparently they come to the big solid 20 and they decide, well, let's just get the ball to Herbie early and let's see what he does with it. And didn't he do something with the ball?
Absolutely. It was magical what he did. Literally, and to come from behind and let them just play their game, really.
All credit, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow in defence as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Sealed up that Queensland and selection for him, honest.
In what position? Centre?
He'll be centre.
Absolutely.
As bad as some of the fullback options are at the moment, he's going to be playing centre.
Yeah, they haven't got much depth, Queensland in their fullback ranks.
Oh, really? But I heard at the moment, Manchester, I think that's somewhere in Queensland at the moment. Well, apparently according to AJ Brimson, that is.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, the Warriors, they have been tracking very nicely. And the fact of the matter is, I think they've only had a few losses here and there after losing James Fisher-Harris. Which is the more incredible thing, if I'm quite honest. That forward pack stood up. Mitch Barnett's taken some of the weight on. And then Luke Metcalf, how good is he travelling at halfback?
He's been going very, very nicely, Metcalf. I think that they've finally got someone that directs the team around the park. At the start of the season, there was a couple of weeks there where there's kind of really no guidance. But now Metcalf has stepped up and said, right, I'm leading you around the park, follow me. And it's paying off. Like, they're sitting second on the ladder in front of Melbourne.
I don't think that's the highest they've ever been at this stage in the season. I believe, you can't quote me on this, but I think that's what I've heard, that this is the highest ladder position they've been in so far, a third into the season. But having Fisher-Harris back is enormous.
Oh, absolutely it is.
And especially now, it makes the forward battle even more intriguing. You got the Dolphins, who carry a fair bit of size themselves, whether you're looking at Finay Fuiaki, you're looking at Frank Molo, a recent acquisition from the Dragons, or even a veteran like Felice Kafusi, the microwave man, Josh Kerr off the bench.
Yeah.
This is another golden forward battle we're in for.
Absolutely. And, excuse me, the Warriors have been around for 3 weeks now. Suncorp for Magic Round, Wollongong last week, and back to Suncorp this week.
They're travelling well. The home and away, the away record's just getting as strong as the home one, which I think will impress Andrew Webster, that they are staying tight in it, especially when, and even though they had a home game, technically speaking, in Brisbane, they've handled this portion of the season where they've had to travel several weeks into Australia. They're handling this absolutely well. And now that they're getting the key reinforcement, that they thought were going to lead them to a premiership, or at least a top 4 charge, which is Now we're truly on.
Absolutely, it's well and truly on, but it's still fairly early on in the season though. But they can keep going. The rate they've been going, we'll see them in the finals for the second time in 3 years.
Well, hopefully that is the case. This one's going to be hard to call. Honestly, it's one of those, as you said, it's those 50-50 games where you got, on one hand, the Warriors coming in with a very big forward pack, some very good young talent and coming through, like your Leka Halasimis, your Dimitri Vaimungas. Is Sam Healy getting another crack after missing out on Wollongong?
Mm-hmm.
But you're throwing Barnett. Aaron Clark's an unsung hero as well. I think he's sort of carried on
Flying under the radar a little bit.
absolutely. I think he's been a big piece of what the Warriors have been able to do as well. So, once again, it's the ball playing and it's the hard running thing that's really going to give the Warriors that front foot for Metcalf and Harris to be either to come up with. Conversely, I think the Warriors also have to be strong out on the edges because they allowed Valentine Holmes to put Gufferson over at a crucial part in last week's game where instead of going up 14-0, it was 14-4 at halftime, and then they got to stay in the fight. They can't allow what they did against the Dragons, where they came back within one with 10 minutes left to spare.
I was going to say they only won by 1 point, so yeah, they didn't score
You can't.
many points in the second half.
Dolphins are not going to be like the Dragons. If they have a sniff heading into the second half, you got to be able to ready to ice those chances when they come. Honestly, you can't be
100%.
outscored 10-1 effectively as it was in the second half. That you don't win many games doing that. They got lucky because St. George Illawarra.
Yeah, absolutely. All right,
But I reckon the Dolphins are going to give it a red-hot crack, as they have done all year in those really tight games that they've been involved with. Nevertheless, it's up to Waz, baby. I think James Fisher-Harris will set a good platform for the Warriors to navigate the origin period, and if they run into a Melbourne or a Penrith at the back end, it's going to be fireworks. So for me, it's the Warriors 1-6.
I have to agree with you. It's just, again, like you said, 50-50 game. But I just don't think the Dolphins can quite get there. So, yeah, Warriors 1-6. Especially with them training Fisher-Harris. That's a big boost.
Second half defense is there. It will set them up nice and tight. Now, we've got the middle game of Super Saturday with everyone's favourite referee, Ashley Klein. The North Queensland Cowboys hosting the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles. Manly, of course, have a couple of shuffles going round at the moment. Ultimately, Jake Trbojevic will move from the front row back into lock 4 as he tries to press his case for a New South Wales jumper. Jazz Tabunga shifts into dummy half with Ethan Bullimore starting up front. And with Caleb Navale being added to the interchange at the expense of Clayton Fuala, while Matt Lodge is also available once again for Anthony Seibold.
Cowboys have been a bit of a surprise selection and a major shake-up. So for start us off, we've got Tom Dearden to play halfback with Zach Layback coming into the centres for his first game since round 5 last year, tearing his ACL. Jake Clifford is 18th man, and young gun Jackson Purdue has gone from centre to 5'8".
Ultimately, Todd Payton's once again lost patience with his halves, especially despite the fact that they were able to rattle off 2 tries in the final quarter against Penrith. Clifford didn't ice the game for them, and I think that's been the big thing against him. He was upset at the fact that it had to go into Golden Point, and they couldn't produce anything against Penrith.
The full length of Golden Point, mind you. Not just 1/2 or 2 minutes or a minute, the full length, and still no result.
It's unbelievable the fact that you had 10 minutes of Golden Point and you couldn't produce one single try. So I think...
Or even Penrith, for that matter of fact, too, who's got like a big name like Nathan Cleary, who can kick field goals.
He was upstaged by Blaze Talungi. Honestly, he was. 1 try, 4 tries. That was Blaze Talungi's night, honestly. After the shaky start, he's coming good now. But you're right. Even Nathan Cleary couldn't get... He only had 1 shot where it didn't go. So it makes you wonder. They couldn't pick themselves up. That's got to have an effect on North Queensland. Conversely, the ever-growing saga of Brookvale. You got the real house husbands of Manly Warringah at the moment, where you got Daly Cherry Evans trying to save face at the moment after the Sharks kicked in the door and embarrassed them in the second installment of the Battle of the Beaches.
Yep.
What has happened to Anthony Seibold's side where he's got this menacing forward pack? When fit, he's probably got the best player in the world.
I was going to say, on paper, it's a very, very solid team, but I can't get firing. At the start of the season, they were going good, and then now they've just been hot and cold ever since.
They just can't take a trick, whether it still is Daly Cherry Evans and the fact that he hasn't, maybe, won't, will sign with the Roosters for 2026. But that's still had a knock-on effect. Where I honestly thought, and even though I have been told that they have not beaten the Sharks at home at Brookvale since the 2019 elimination final, I honestly thought Manly are still Cronulla's primary bogey. If there was anywhere the Sharks could slip up, it was here.
Well, guess what? That didn't happen, didn't it?
Not so. Adam Fanua-Blake decided, I'll just carry this team on my back. Nico Hines and have a couple of tries. It's on the board and have a couple of votes in my book as well. So he's starting to get some roll on now. 14-0. They managed to get it back to 14-all. And then the Sharks just pull away with it.
I said, see you later. We're only toying with you to get you back to make it look like you've got a chance. But then we just put the foot down for the rest of the game and say, bye-bye. We'll go on and win this victory.
I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this is going to be a lackluster game. Like, I don't know what to expect out of these two sides. I honestly don't. And these are two sides I'd picked in my top eight with the Cowboys finishing sixth on the ladder and Manly finishing inside the top eight. Actually, I think these two were destined, in my opinion, to meet in the finals.
Oh, well, there you go.
Finals, because I had the Roosters in eighth.
Well, now it's Cowboys in sixth and Manly in eighth.
Yeah, but the records of both sides are a little bit questionable. I mean, Cowboys coming off the draw, are they going to be flat off that? Are they going to be exhausted after 90 minutes performance?
That happened on Saturday, and they're playing on Saturday, so they've had a week off. Well, not a week off, but a week between games, which is probably a good thing.
Freeing up Jackson Purdue to play him at 5'8", that's going to be the real interesting test. What you probably don't know about Jackson Purdue is he's not actually a centre. He just plays good at centre.
Yeah.
I think many people will be aware, or some will be aware, that he started out playing St. Patrick's Schoolboys as a halfback. He made his Host Plus Cup debut for the Mackay Cutters as a halfback, and yet...
He's made his NRL first grade debut at centre.
Exactly, but he's just started scoring tries at centre. He became so good that Zach Ladebot overlooked for round one. He hasn't looked back. He's going to get picked for Queensland in 2 to 3 years. Purdue. I honestly reckon he will.
Reckon?
Yeah, but I think maybe Todd's thinking this is now the right time to get him in there and finally get his hands on the ball in the halves as my most dangerous attacking weapon to play.
Well, I was going to say, with Origin around the corner, Dearden will no doubt be selected, so they'll need someone to step up a bit.
I reckon they're going to grease the skids with Purdue now, unless he's selected to go into camp and then get released at the last minute.
I don't think so, but you never know.
He'll be extended bench. You know how Billy Slater and Laurie Daly will play. They still have extra players in the squad, even though we only name what we think will be the final 17 for game one.
But then Purdue, he'll be back into the Cowboys side, ready for that week, and then it'll be him and Clifford in the halves.
It's a hard one to call. It honestly is. My instincts tell me that I should be tipping Manly, but I just can't. Not after the last few games they've played where they've offered me nothing.
No, they haven't offered anyone anything, really.
The Cowboys, especially at home in a fast-track Townsville where there's more than likely there's going to be no rain if the forecasts hold out correctly, there's just going to be nothing of that. And I can't give any real justification after being let down by them last week against the Sharks. For me, it's going to be North Queensland. I think Jackson Purdue, you give him his hands on the ball, he's going to show exactly his quality and skills as a playmaker at the top level. The left edge of the Cowboys marking up against Hamole Olakawatu and Ruben Garrick. North Queensland, for me, it's 1-6.
Well, even Ruben Garrick, he made a drop ball, which he made an error that he doesn't usually make. Well, I'm not saying he's absolutely perfect, but, he's one of the more consistent players. I'm going to say Cowboys win this one. I'm going to say 1-6. Gonna be tight, but I think Cowboys will just get there.
Yeah, well, from a tight game up in North Queensland, what are we to expect down in the Shire as the Sharks once again lock horns with the Melbourne Storm? And once again, Melbourne teasing us with Harry Grant and listed in the reserves ahead of a possible Origin call-up. No doubt he'll probably be the starting dummy half if us fit for this one. Whilst Tui Kamakamek has been named on the bench with Nelson Asofa Solomona once again reverting to the reserve as in the only change that absolutely buried the West Tigers a whopping 11 tries to nothing.
Yep. That was an absolute thrash. But we knew it was going to happen, Melbourne in Melbourne. Sifa Talakai has been named on the interchange with Teague Wilton remaining a chance. Reese come back from a shoulder injury, also listed as one for reserves. Talakai has been replaced Tom Hazelton, who suffered a shoulder injury last week, with Oregon Kafusi returning to the starting side as a result of that, and otherwise unchanged from that win over Manly.
2 words that sum up the Melbourne Storm from last weekend.
Ryan Pappenhausen
Stole the words right out of my mouth.
30.
Holy shit.
36 points.
36 points, which is apparently equaling the NRL record for most points in a single season game.
And he scored more points as an individual than what teams that blew their leads at halftime.
Yes.
Eels, Knights, Canberra.
He had 3 tries in the opening 18 minutes. That's how good he was going.
And correct me if I'm wrong, he only missed 1 conversion?
Yep, he was 10 from 11.
Plus he got, 10 from 11. Could he, now this is the big question, is he in the mix for a New South Wales debut? He's made a solid statement.
He's given Laurie Daly 36 reasons, and they're all saying, I'm ready, coach. Put me in.
But where do you play him?
You play him off the bench if you have to.
What, in the utility role?
Yep. Remember I think it was when Jerome Hughes was still playing fullback for Melbourne 6 years ago when Pappenhausen burst onto the scene.
He was
coming on for Del Finucane. And you saw how devastating he was when he was just let loose in the middle of the field like that.
And didn't he also at one point play a little bit in halves in his career?
Doing that.
But that was all it was. Ryan Pappenhausen. That was a Melbourne show.
And then you have Cameron Munster playing off the back of that, solidifying his spot in the Queensland and 5'8" position. Now, coming back to the Sutherland Shire, Melbourne know that they're going to have to try and back that up again. Craig Bellamy will be happy that he held them to 0. Now he's going to challenge them. All right, he held them to 0. We'll go do it again. If not, well, we all know what happens next.
Absolutely.
So, Bellyache versus Fitzgibbon after a good performance against the Manly Sea Eagles. This is going to be the one Nico Hines will really want to aim up for. No prospect of getting picked in the hearts of the Blues, so the only thing he can really do is demonstrate that he is a top-line halfback.
Absolutely.
This will be his moment. Right before Origin selection, even though he's not going to get picked.
No, but if you're in the camp, you're going to experience some of that, don't you?
But this is his moment. Back at home, the old foes in Melbourne coming up. What does this say about the Sharks in 2025?
That they're hot and cold and that they're inconsistent and they can't close out tight games and they might need a better halves combination.
It's sort of the same problem that's been held over from last year. They're expected to beat the sides below them on the ladder, but have mixed results when they go against teams that are either equal or above them. I think this is going to be another repeat case.
Well, look at the Tigers game a couple of weeks ago. The Sharks should have sealed that. But no, they gave away a penalty, and Dewey kicks that penalty goal.
Yeah, it's hard to go past the Melbourne Storm, especially after what they did to the Tigers in 80 minutes. They basically, the fastest attacking blitz anyone's ever seen, and it's just
Wouldn't surprise me. It's Melbourne. Come on, be
It
realistic.
is Melbourne, absolutely. I mean, Adam Fanua-Blake is going to need all the help he can get in the middle of the field because it's not just Stefano and King you need to worry about. If Jerome Hughes decides he's going to try and put Braden Trindle and Kyle Lero under pressure, he's going to be using Ali Katoa as an aerial threat.
So he's been a bit of a under the radar player too this year, Eli Katoa. Like he's been consistent. He's been playing good footy and just flying under the radar a little bit. I think
he's probably been one of the better performing back rowers, Ali Katoa.
Oh,
He
yeah.
honestly has.
But like overall in the Melbourne side, he's been a bit flying under the radar.
And if they get Suafalongo the ball in any space whatsoever,
Goodbye.
this kid is going to create a headline, and he's just going. And this is going to be the interesting dynamic. Melbourne are going to have to work out. Do you create a spot for Suafalongo in the side, or are you prepared to let him walk and become the face of the Perth Bears?
That'd be stupid to let him walk.
You've got Pappenhausen there, you've got Falongo on the right wing, and you know what's going to happen when Will Warbrick comes back into that side.
Yeah, but isn't also Pappenhausen been linked to the Perth Bears as well?
Pappy? No, I haven't heard anything.
I thought I've seen somewhere a particular team listing Pappenhausen was the fullback.
Oh, well, we all know that's wishful thinking. I mean, Jerome Hughes has been another one, but the sources now say that he's close to inking an extension with the Melbourne Storm.
Well, why would you leave Melbourne when you're playing some career best footy?
But it's always the marquee signing that the Bears will be after. And look...
Well, look, the Dolphins started up without a marquee signing.
They manufactured a marquee when Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow really started to open up. So
exactly.
There's that. You can either buy a superstar or you make one.
Well, yeah, it's shown that you can make one even if you can't buy one. So,
but I think the Melbourne Storm rarely have misses like this. And sure, they got upset in Melbourne by the Sharks last year.
But that was last year.
It's not going to happen again.
No.
And then for me, even though Cronulla are going to be at home and they really try and do some funny things are right on top of the Bermuda Triangle.
I was going to say, they haven't been at a triangle yet.
It's a Melbourne victory. 7-12 is being generous. I just think Munster is in that zone at the moment. He's going to be pulling all the right strings, whether he's putting kicks up for Coates to really outjump Sam Stonestreet. Now, that's going to be an aerial battle.
Absolutely,
Keep an eye on that battle.
would be,
That's
yeah.
going to be a highlights battle right there. But for me, it's the Storm all the way.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go Melbourne with this one. I'm going to be a little bit harsher than what with you. I'm going to go 13-20. To be quite, it could be more. It could be more, but
At the rate this Melbourne Storm side's playing,
13-20 is pretty lenient. Let's just say that. I could have said 21 plus, but 13-20 it is.
now moving on to the first of the free Sunday games that we are getting. It's a beautiful afternoon at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane.
Rarity.
With the Brisbane Broncos at home, of course, to the St. George Illawarra Choke Artists. Oh, sorry, did I say Choke Artists out loud? I meant to say the Dargans.
The Dargans.
Oh, wait. Hey, what's the other thing there? What? Oh, Dragons. Oh, the Drag-Ons. Yep, gotcha. The
More like drag
Drag-Ons.
offs.
No, because they drag your heart along for an attack. That's what they do.
Well, that is true.
It's terrible humour.
Yeah. I mean, it is two blokes, so that doesn't mean anything. Anyway, Toby Cashman has a shoulder injury, which has seen Jack DeBellin come to the starting side with Blake Glory back on the bench. Dylan Egan named in the back row and Lucio Alua on the interchange. But as the weeks have gone on, they have swapped positions on game day.
The big headline for the Broncos and for Michael Maguire is that Ezra Mam has decided to jump out of the Ram truck and stop ramming Ubers for a change. He will not live that down.
No.
And he will start in 5/8 in the place of the injured Ben I know how to drop a ball in the grand final Hunt.
Oh, what a shame he can't play his former team.
In the big change right there, so he comes straight into 5/8. Meantime, Xavier Willison is starting in the back row with Brendan Piakura reversing to the inner change at this point.
That's just ironic that Ben Hunt got injured the week before he plays his former club.
Are you suggesting there's a league conspiracy theory behind this?
Probably. Is he actually got a hamstring issue, or is it hamstring injury?
Yeah, he's looking at a month and a half, so...
So it is actual hamstring injury.
Yeah, first time he's done it, apparently.
But still, it's just a happy coincidence that he's coming up against his former club.
I don't think there is any such thing as happy coincidence.
Well, yeah. You get what I'm saying, though.
Anyway, so where are the Broncos at the moment? Because I can't get a fair read on the Broncos at the moment.
But again, one of those... A lot of teams this season are hot and cold. Broncos are one of them. They've gone like win, loss, loss, win, loss. Oh, I don't know exactly in order, but they've been loss, win, couple losses, couple wins. You know, it's just very inconsistent.
I thought they were going to respond against South Sydney last start, only for them to clock off at half time and allow the Bunnies to get into the game.
Yeah, but that was one name. Latrell Mitchell.
Oh my God.
What a masterclass that was.
Honestly, how bloody lucky is he didn't get pinged for a high shot on Jordan Ricky?
Very.
Ask me, how lucky is it? It's like he's got a guardian angel at League Central. It's like, so yeah, Latrell Mitchell, let's just see the chart we use for the headshots. So if it's right on the jaw, that means it's a legal hit. Yeah, because it's Latrell, yeah, it's a legal hit. Right in the jaw. You can all see it. It happened.
Yeah.
Not one mention of him being put on report for that.
Absolutely
What
not.
is the go with that? But then, of course, he decides, I'm going to stop paying halves right here, right now. And then he just says, oh, Mariner, right? You had to be fast, son. Try and get around me.
You do roll it. Oh, yeah, gotcha. Don't worry, I had a mind blank
And
for a sec.
then there's, of course, the big moment. The shot from 50 out. I know it's 49 or 48, but for semantics' sake, he stepped on it from the halfway line, and then he launched it.
And won the game.
And I was like, are you kidding me? It's like, bull fucking shit, he nailed it from halfway.
Yeah. One of very few players to hit it from halfway. In a 1 point, and a 2 point. Really?
And then he faked the try right on full time. It's like, damn. He just decided to go scorched earth on the Broncos.
And with Origin around the corner, he'll no doubt be...
He's going to get picked.
One of the centres.
Yeah, he's going to be in the centres. And just off that one game alone, whereas they were saying in the commentary afterwards that he just lives for the big moments, and he came up with 2 try-saving tackles, a 2-point field goal from 50 out, and the try right on half time where it was just like, he just embarrassed the Broncos. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't want him there, but I know he's going to be there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's going to be there for the Blues no matter what. Even his biggest critics, I think, but like, God damn, how does he do this?
Criticise me if all you want, but because Origin's coming up, he's actually starting to play better.
And we'll touch more on the L next. But then you got the Dragons on the other side of the field where you fight back to 14-all, but Valentine Holmes forgot how to goal kick in this game of all games, where apparently, what was he against the Storm back in round 4? He didn't have a good conversion rate, yet somehow he thought he was going to get by only nailing 1 from 3.
Yeah.
Didn't work this time, did
No.
it?
But yeah, look where the Dragons are in later compared to the Wires. I mean, that doesn't always mean anything, but most of the time it does.
It'll be interesting to see how Ezra Mann goes, especially now that he's back with Adam Reynolds in the halves and how he might be received at Suncorp. Then you got the case of Lycan King Tongia. 3rd game in, apparently still given the confidence in his coach by Shane Flanagan.
He has played pretty well.
This is going... And the fact he's going to be in the Cauldron, 40,000 plus on a Sunday afternoon, so you'll get the families out nice and early for this one.
Absolutely, you would.
Best time of the day. Flat track, fast track. No.
I'd say fast.
It's another one of those games that's be like, who's going to be the bigger disappointment out of this one?
Dragons.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it going to be the Dragons or is it going to be the Broncos?
I am still not confident after we got shellacked by the Roosters on Anzac Day.
All right, theoretically, What do you think the Dragons need to do well to ensure they can walk away from Brisbane with 2 points?
Have a decent bloody attack and defence. More defence than anything, because we leak points like we leak freaking pipes.
I think this is going to be a game of psychological warfare because we know they're going to be out there. They're going to be trying edging Ezra, just be like, oh, look out, Ezra, there's a 4-year-old over there, don't run this way. Or, look out, Ezra, there's a bag of cocaine here, you don't want to touch that. They're going to be sledging him. You know the players are probably going to be out there sledging him as much as we won't pick it up. And I reckon they'll be trying to send Jaden Sewer down his way as much as they can as well.
Unless he doesn't drop the bloody ball when he's in a try-scoring position, then yes.
That's what I reckon they're going to try and do. They're going to try and front-load Ezra Mam as much as they can. Could backfire. I honestly think it's a possibility. You got to keep open to these things. But if I was the Dragons, that would probably be the one way you get victory. Otherwise, I just think Payne Haas is
straight through in the middle.
Yeah, he's going to try and dominate the middle again, and especially losing a good forward in Toby Couchman. It's just, I mean, the scales of the Broncos forward battle plus Adam Reynolds, it's just sort of like, yeah, it's leaning a little bit more Brisbane's way. And now, so
a little bit. That's been lenient. I am not confident with us whatsoever. Again,
I just think at the end of the day, I've got to settle on the Broncos in a tight one, 1-6.
Tight one. That's been very, very generous to Dragons fans, including myself. Look, I'm not confident. I'm still not confident. Even though we lost by a point to the Warriors, we got beat by the Tigers in a comeback. Well, as in, we're coming back. Broncos win this one 13-20. I just haven't got the confidence in the Dragons at the moment. I don't know how the hell we are still sitting in what? 13th on the ladder, we're not even lower. Honestly.
Now, the prime time Sunday afternoon, we'll see the Canberra Raiders back at home against the Gold Coast Titans, and Des has had the luxury of welcoming back Kieran Foran for this clash for his first match since tearing his bicep in the preseason challenge. Jamin Jolliffe back from suspension as well, with Arama Howell dropping out of the 17-man rotation, with Philip Sami shifting from the centres onto the wing, with Jojo Fafita moving the other way, and I believe they've still got Cleese Haas starting at the moment, held over from the last weekend. But yeah, I think those are all the changes Des has made.
As for the men in green, Zach Hoskin has gone to the second round place of Matty Nicholson, who is facing after 12 weeks on the sideline from a lower leg injury that requires surgery. Corey Horsburgh is coming back from a head knock. And no other changes with Jed Stewart to 18th man.
Ricky's going to have the Raiders fired up for this one.
Especially after holding a 20-0 lead and losing it.
He will demand a response, and honestly, I think there will be a response coming. Then you got the curious beast that is the Gold Coast Titans.
Who were as high as 5th in the first opening weeks. Now they've slipped down to 15th and come back from behind to beat the Knights.
They look like they don't have any hope in hell for the majority of the early stage of the season. Then all of a sudden they flick a switch. Tino possesses everyone, and then he's just real leadership in the middle of the field, carries them to victory. You'd think this should be a walk in the park for the Raiders, but I can't honestly say that.
Well, after their last week's performance against the Dogs, after blowing a lead.
Once again, you got Origin hopefuls, both sides of the field, both pushing for a final audition. Of course, Malaki Fotuaika, I think he's got his nose in front at the moment to snag a spot on the Queensland bench rotation. Of course, Tino's an automatic lock for Queensland. Corey Horsburgh, he's an automatic lock for Queensland, I believe.
Would you put Furmore in the mix?
I'll get more into that a little bit shortly. But Hudson Young, yep, he's there for the Blues, definitely.
Absolutely.
I think Canberra would have learnt their mistakes. Sure, they lose Matty Nicholson, who was playing some very good football for 3 months. Very unfortunate the way it ended, the way that right Edge was humming, but I got to give it to Canberra just solely because they will want to respond themselves, and the Titans. There's too many independent variables at the moment, and I think Jamal Fogarty personally, he'll be fired up to get another win over the Titans as well after he was let go by them back in 2021, and then since then, and he has had the better run of it actually.
And in that matter of fact, he's been playing that good. He's going to Manly. Canberra, I was going to say, are generally speaking, are pretty good in my eyes.
In the case of Jamal Fogarty, this will be the 5th time he's faced the Titans since defection. Won every single game.
Oh, well, there you go.
And he is.
Can you make it 6 on 6?
Well, I think he could make it 5 from 5 since defection. I think he beat them in round 20 when he came back for the Raiders. As in, often 2 tries in it, apart from the last 2 meetings as well. And he's already beaten them on the road this year as well. So this will be the rematch. He'll be going for the 5th straight, and I think he loves playing the Titans. So for me, it's going to be another tight one. I think Canberra 7-12 off the back of Fogarty. If he really gets the spiral kicks go, I think putting De Groot, Khan Pereira, and Sami under pressure in the backfield, and then you got that big forward rotation where you can bring Papali'i on the course and chaos alongside Horsburgh and Tarpany. The Raiders will be back.
Yeah. Well, look, the Raiders will not want to blow another lead if they get the lead. And I want to, like you said, Ricky had them fired up. They want to bounce back, continue on. But then Titans, after their win, will want to continue on that momentum that they've got. But I'm going to have to say Raiders win this one 7-12. Well, quite comfortably, actually.
And finally, we have the West Tigers out at Campbelltown taking on the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Alex Johnston is returning from a hamstring. So he's replacing Fletcher Myers, who's gone to the reserves. And no other changes, with Josh Schuster again being listed in the extended squad.
At the moment, just a couple of big blow, honestly, for the West Tigers. Fanua Pole did his knee in the loss to Melbourne, so he is out. Royce Hunt will come into the starting forward pack with Jack Bird on the bench for Benji Marshall's side. Ultimately, Charlie Staines holds onto his position with Brent Naden on the interchange. Where do the Tigers go from here? They just had 11 tries put on them in the space of 80 minutes. But you look at South Sydney on the other side, Wayne Bennett somehow pulled something out of nothing.
Put a rabbit out of the hat.
Cliched as it is, he did pull a rabbit out of the hat. And he's got Alex Johnston back in that back line too, so he can start to settle things down now.
Look, they're right next to each other on a ladder. Tigers 10th, Rabbits 11th. But South, I think, have been the better informed team. And it shows. But if Latrell doesn't need to have a one-show wonder, he needs to back that up another week. And with having Alex Johnston back, who we know is a try-scoring machine, needs to have a really good game as well. It'll be interesting to see how the young halves go of Sullivan and Humphreys.
Jamie Humphreys has proven his weight in gold to Wayne Bennett this year. Everyone thought Lewis Dodd was going to be the man, then Crusher tackled here, and then even with injuries hitting the Bunnies hard, he couldn't get a look in. And then the talk, has Wayne been sold a lemon in the Rabbitohs when then Latrell Mitchell does that out of thin air? It's hard. It's a hard one to read, but I just don't see a path for the Tigers at the moment. I mean,
no.
Terrell May has been amongst the Tigers' best.
One of the best, yep.
I just,
if not the
honestly think that forward battle between him and Keon Kalala-Matangi, that's going to be a highlight right there. Jerome Luai needs to really step up here.
Absolutely.
Incumbency is on the line for him. He's the incumbent Blues 5'8", and there's all the talk. Mitchell Moses, I think he was actually on 100% footy last night. He basically said he's all in if he gets picked for the Blues at 5'8".
What, have like a Moses-Cleary combo?
Exactly.
Didn't that worked for him last season? Well, last Origin 3, really.
It was Luai Moses.
Or Luai Moses. That's
You
right.
got
'cause
Cleary
is
back. He's the automatic lock as the Blues halfback.
Well, yeah. Look, Tigers will want to bounce back, but I don't think they will.
I think this is still with South Sydney, 7-12. I think the forward pack for me will be hard working for South. You've got Lockie Hovner who can ball play through the middle, as I've said before. Colin Matangi, he's probably going to be in for another big game off in the middle. An edge rower by trade, but he's very good in the middle as well.
Yeah.
And I just don't know where the Tigers' heads are at. If they manage to spring another upset, I think it'll come off playing off Terrell May. And the only thing I think the Tigers can look forward to is not that much Origin representation, which means they can have all their stars fit and firing, or most of them, maybe bar Luai and May. But they'll have the bulk of them there together that can guide them through the Origin period, no trouble. But it's going to be another week before the Tigers will really bounce back.
Oh, absolutely, it would be. South 7-12 as well. I think they've got a little bit of momentum behind them at the moment, especially coming from behind.
We'll do a bit of a women's check. We were meant to do it in the last recording we did, but we'll do it quickly here. Of course, it is Game 2 of the Ampol Women's State of Origin Series at Allianz Stadium this Thursday night, New South Wales. Believe it or not, they have not won a single series since the multi-game format was introduced a few years back.
Well, I mean, they should have really wrapped it up last year, but bloody Queensland had other ideas. There's been not that many changes to both teams overall from game 1. But this is one of 2 consecutive games. Well, I shouldn't say consecutive. 2 games for New South Wales on home turf, which is very unusual. It goes Queensland, New South Wales, New South Wales. And the Blues can wrap it up.
Well, the Maroons are going to be buoyed because they have Chelsea Lana-Duzzi on the bench for them, a very strong veteran in her own right, while Olivia Higgins does bolster up the New South Wales reserve on the other side of the ball.
Along with Bridie Parker as well. She's back in the squad.
This will actually be the first game at Allianz Stadium, so they are expecting a good crowd.
It wouldn't be.
Game.
It won't. I don't think it'll be a sellout crowd, but it probably could be another record-breaking Origin crowd for the women.
This is going to be the year New South Wales seeks redemption. They had the
We
same
hope
scenario, 1-0 up in the series at Newcastle, lost in a close one, and then it had to go to Townsville where Queensland dominated. This time, they can't afford to let it escape again.
No.
But after Jesse Southwell had that unbelievable turnout in the first game, then of course you got that practically the best women's centre pairing in the world with Isabel Kelly and Jess Surgis.
Yeah, you can't go past that combo at all.
Can't.
New South Wales sort of win easy.
Yep, I think the women.
I'm going to say 7-12.
1-6. I think this
Ooh.
Queensland are Queensland for a reason. They will fight. They will scrap. They might try and pull each other's hair, try and break the ponytails up. I don't know. I'll leave that one out there. But no, I think New South Wales seal the series 2-0, and then if we can get a good result in Newcastle, then
A 3-0.
all happy days for the first series whitewash.
Yep. I agree.
But that's a little bit of the women's Origin. Now, the men's Origin. Sides get named on Sunday, and we will finally get an idea of who gets picked. After several weeks of pondering and tossing and turning, I have finally settled on what I think will be the best 17 for Game 1, and I'll start off with those filthy cane-toed ridden 4X drinking numpties to the north. Kalen Ponga, for me, lines up at fullback. There's really no surprise out of that.
Nah, I agree.
Bit of temptation for the hammer, but I've got other plans for him.
Yeah, centre.
Xavier Coates, Murray Taulagi on the wing. Just keep the incumbency right there. Coates in particular, he will love playing on that right-hand edge for Billy Slater. Valentine Holmes, Hamaso Tabuai Fido in
Would
the
you really
centres.
put Val Holmes in?
Yeah, I'm going to put him in.
I mean, there's really no other ones that have been around that have performed. And it adds another goal-kicking element to it.
Cam Munster, Daly Cherry Evans, the captain in the halves for me.
Ooh, okay.
Keep it with me now. Even though he will not play the game for 3 straight weeks, I would still name Ruben Cotter at lock forward.
Mm-hmm.
Back row, I'd have Jaden Sewer, Tom Gilbert. Up front, now this is the mouth-watering one. Tino Fasua Malawi, Harry Grant, Pat Carrigan.
Oh, yeah, that's a heavy up front pack.
It's a monster pack. Now, the bench, Tom Dearden.
There we go. That's what I was...
Bench utility, quite clearly.
Yeah.
Could still be Reed Marnie, but I think it's going to be Dearden.
Oh, I dare say it would be...
You'd want his speed in and around the middle of the field, and he's an extra ball player you can definitely rely on.
Yep.
Corey Horsburgh,
Yep.
Bo Fermor,
Yep.
and for me at the moment, Moaki Fotuaker edges out Lindsay Collins. I just think he's had more of an opportunity, even though the Titans haven't been up near the best. But I would have Moaki Fotuaker over Collins.
I'd stick with you, but I'd swap. I'd put Lindsay Collins in. And Fodawaker's 18th man.
It's a tight one, but that's where I think Billy Slater will go. Now,
But I'll have Tom I don't know if I get... You can't get rid of Daly Cherry Evans, though, because of his experience in that. But then Tom Dearden... Yeah. I'd keep Dearden at 14.
now for the New South Wales Blues, this is how I see things.
This is the tough one, though.
Even if James Tedesco has a good game against the Bulldogs on Friday night, which is, as time of recording, 3 days from now, I would still have Dylan Edwards at fullback.
Ooh. Yeah, okay.
He's incumbent for a reason. And then he's sparked back up a little bit, and I think he will still be the favoured option.
Nah, I'd swap him out with Tedesco.
Wingers, Brian To'o and Jacob Carraz.
Yeah, okay.
In the centres, as much as it pains me to say it, but he just keeps finding his way in there. Latrell Mitchell on one side and Stephen Crichton, the other centre.
Crichton has to be in
He
there.
will be there.
That's a given. That's an absolute given.
In the halves, I am going Penrith-like, Jerome Luai with Nathan Cleary.
Okay.
At lock forward, and the captain of the New South Wales Blues, it's Isaiah Yeo.
Well, that's a given.
Well, he already holds the Kangaroos captaincy, so it sort of makes a bit of a Boyd Cordner sense to have him hold
Exactly.
the Blues captaincy as well.
Yep.
Edges, I have got Liam Martin and Angus Crichton.
Yep.
Up front, Terrell May, Reece Robson, and Payne Haas.
Yep. Like I said, Terrell May, he's been absolutely outstanding for the Tigers this year.
And even though Gus Gould has warned of selecting this man in particular, I'm still going to include him anyway. Connor Watson, starting off the bench.
Yeah, but he can play halves, back line, lock forward, hooker.
Mitch Barnett,
Yeah.
Spencer Leniu, and to round it off, Hudson Young.
There's a few changes I would have in there, but...
All right, well, I rattled off my sides. How about you
Well,
now?
I'm pretty much agree with you with the Maroons. Marring, I'll put Lindsay Collins instead of Mo Fodawaker. That's the only change I've made for Queensland. The Blues, I would have Tedesco at fullback.
Oh.
I don't know for the winner in place of Carraz. Because I know Latrell Mitchell will be there, Crichton will be there. I'm uncertain on that win spot yet. I would have the halves as Moses Cleary. I know Moses haven't played a lot of games, but I just think he can do that. I'd have Pappenhausen in 14. I was going to put him as fullback, but I thought, no, I'll put him in as the 14. And then that unchanged. I just don't know about Carraz. I'm not quite convinced yet. I'll see how this week goes.
Well, when we put the predicted team lists up when I create the graphics, you can tell me then. But that's all we've got for this portion of the show. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back with all your action from the Betfred Super League.